Let's go to the second part. Look at transactions. Basically, um, it's really nothing different from what we did for user. So this first endpoint is we are trying to, once you register initially with the user, you are getting to say $300. So you're trying to find a way to change your $100. Maybe you want to change it to a specific amount, or maybe you want to convert your $20, $30 and change it so that you can get some naira, equivalent naira. So this will what this endpoint does. So first thing we do here, like I've explained this before, you're getting the context, you're getting the user from the context that is being stored during the authentication and authorization, right? And then this is the request for it. Like you see, I told the JSON, you're getting the amount in which you want to change, let's say $50 or thereabouts. And one thing we want to try and check here is we are checking if the amount you want to transfer out is actually greater than the balance, your USD balance. Then you have to return this error insufficient fund. You shouldn't be able to transfer what you don't have, basically, right? And thereafter, if that passes through, you have to find a way to minus subtract the amount you want to transfer out from the balance from the balance you already have in your system. And yeah, just have that one aside, and then you have to get the rates, so that you can do the proper calculation. So let's get the rates. All it takes is the context here. Let's get down there to, we have already explained how this returns on whatever is returning, how it returns this client for you to initialize at the handler side. So what this does is it gets the URL from the config, like we already know config has the URL exchange rates, which is from the environment variable. It gets that, and it sends a request here. The request is actually an application JSON. This is just standard for sending requests in. This is basically just standard standard code base for sending requests in Golang. So you get the response here. If there's an error, if the status code is not okay, or if there's an error, you just return the error messages that you need to return. If not, you read the response body. Yeah, if not, you just read the response body and unmarshal what you're reading into this response here response here. And this response here is just this is the documenting, this is the struct in which the response coming out. This is way longer than this, but with all we need is basically just the rates. The rates, you only need the rates. You don't really need any other thing here. So I kept it short, just the rates for the naira when you're selling, with the USD when you're selling, and when you want to buy. There are different rates so that we can make different make profits. When you're buying, you shouldn't be buying for the same rate and selling for the same rate. Basically, that's the idea, right? And then you return it. You return the rates there. So when you get to return that rate, right? Can we go back to that code base? Okay. So basically you're getting the rates here. So for you to know what your balance is in naira, what you're doing is that you are the naira balance. So what you're probably doing is, yeah, what is that? What you're doing is that you are getting the rate of this. Since we are working with sell, you're getting the rate in which you want to use and sell the dollar, the rates. You're multiplying it by the request amount, right? Once you multiply it by the request amount, let's say maybe the rate is 730, 720, multiply it by, let's say, 50. You want to, in which you want to sell out, in which you want to convert $50, so then you multiply with the rates, and then you assume that, no, in the beginning the user probably has zero, right, as naira. But let's say you assume he doesn't have anything. You have to just add whatever you have with whatever the user already has in its balance, which this user balance was gotten from when you're getting the user from the context here. Basic thing. And then after that, you update the balance. So if you go into this update function, because what you want to do here, you want to keep track of the user balance all the time. So if you go to that update balance function, right, You're going to the update balance function. You see, probably you know how to get the ID from the email. We've gone through that already. So just pass in what the fields you need to update. That's the USD balance and the Naira balance. You pass it in here. Yeah, then you just update it, right? Um, Simple stuff, basically just the basic stuff, nothing much there. After updating it, then you find a way to create the transaction too, right? We have a transaction table here in which these are just the transactions we want to the fields that we need to keep track of in the transaction, the type of what type of transaction was carried out, which is a sell. Basically it's just sell. You're trying to sell your USD to get Naira. The user ID that's involved as the ID. You have the rate, and you need to see the rate in which the person this transaction is happening at. The currency, we have the currency, the request currency, and then the amount. Let's say 50 USD, and then we also have the receive currency and then the amount. Just keep it short, nothing too serious. And then thereafter you create the transaction. So if you go into creating the transaction here, if you go into creating the transaction here, you'll be sure to get basically you're passing in the transaction here, and then you get the transaction. You form a primitive object ID for the transaction ID, and then you create it, right? Just insert it. Use you create the time created out, of course. You create it. Still nothing major. And then yeah, I did talk about our customized way of returning our the customized way in which we are returning our response. Like I've shown you before, I showed you here, although it's under errors, but I showed you in the web. So that's where you're getting that call from. So basically, sell and buy, basically the same thought process, just that for you get the amount. When you get the amount, yeah, that means you're trying to buy USD. You put the naira, you get the amount. If the amount is greater than if the amount you want to convert from the naira amount you want to convert from to use to buy USD is greater than what you have in your account, it's exactly going to give you insufficient. If not, you're going to minus it from what you have from the account. The same thing you did here for the dollar. Now, just this time around is for naira, right? Nothing major. You get the rates as usual. Once you get the rates, the calculation is here. Since you're going back to dollar, you're dividing it instead of multiplication. Then you add it to the whatever currency, whatever balance you get dollar balance you had before. Same thing. You update the balance. You create transaction. Nothing major there. Return. So for get transactions, you need to get the transactions of the user. Basically, it's like still getting the user from the context. You get the email of the user, right? You pass it into this get transaction database function, and pass into that get transaction database function. Yeah, that's what it does. It gets an array of that transaction. You sort it. We created at time, right? And then you just you get it. This all this standard code. Nothing major about it. Nothing really major about this thing. You are getting it. You get with the user ID is equals to, since you are getting the email, you know to get the user ID with the email already. You are getting it there. Nothing really is major here. So that's that for the transaction, right? So let's go to the testing. Basically, we did testing. If you need to know how to run the code, right? Let's let's run the test. So if you can see a make file here. You can see what you do, different things. You make mock. Once you pull the code base, you do make mock to generate your mock files, and then you can run test, or you can just go to the test folders, each of the test folders here, and just run the test. For example, here, this is the test for the transactions. So I tested for um, what did I test for again? Yeah, tested for successful customer selling. So if you run that test, you are selling your USD for some naira. Tested for that. Call it out. So if you run that test, you should see a result after compiling. It takes a bit of time to compile. So basically, yeah, that's for that. He also did test for buy. Also, when you want to buy USD with Naira, that's converting back from Naira to USD. Um, you can just go through the test. Yeah, you can see that this test, the first test we ran passed. So basically, did also test for conversion, successful conversion from customer buy USD with Naira. Did the test for that and then get transactions, right? So basic test stuff, right? Because you need to run your test to know to make sure ensure that your code is running as expected, right? There's really nothing to it. There's actually really nothing to it. So this takes time. It's taking time, right? Taking time to basically that, yeah, is it. So let's just run the same thing. We have the test file, integrated test here for the users. So let's just run the whole test file, I think. See the whole test package. Run the whole test package, see what is happening there. Run the whole test package and see what is happening there, right? Takes time. But basically there's I think there's just one unit test if I'm not, yeah, 11 tests pass, so you can see all pass. There's one test unit test I did for the util, which was basically me trying to see if the util, if was what's like if you're trying to compare, basically just you're trying to hash your, because the util has to do with hashing this thing, hashing your password with salt. It takes whatever salt you give it with whatever password you want to give it, and compare to see if that works. So that's it. Compare to see if that works. Yeah, same thing works. So if you need to do your test, like I said, you can always use the make file. You can always do make tests. Make file says make tests. You can see it's gonna run all the folders. You can see there are tests in the controllers like this, and there's also a test in util, which is basically good. I think we are good on the test. So whatever. So now let's start up the system. Make one or two see how. So to start up the system is basically like I said. If you get to the make file, you can always see Docker Compose up, Docker Compose down. Just ensure that your Docker is on, so that you won't have any reason to try and get any. Just ensure that your Docker is on, and then you're good to go, right? Nothing major there. So just gonna do make. Basically, we're just going to do make up. Make up sounds funny, right? We're just gonna do make up just to get the Docker, just to um get it from Docker. So just make up. By the way, you can run this code on your local host if you have everything on the environment. If you have all the environment variables, you can run it on your local host. So you can always just do make run from the make file. You can see you can run it from the local